Welcome to Evolve, Reinventing Leadership, Building Freedom Cultures, with thought leader and award-winning author Yvette Bethel. This podcast provides you with insights and ideas you can use to reinvent your culture through trust and the principles of interconnectivity, flow, and balance. At a time when the world is rewriting the rules of work, traditional leadership practices are not enough. It's time to perceive persistent challenges through a new lens. It's time to evolve. Hello, everyone, and welcome once again. This is your host, Yvette Bethel, and the topic for this episode of Evolve is leadership in the digital age. And we have with us business owner and software development, Fernando Colaço. Am I saying it correctly?
Yes, you are. You actually said it with the accent on the C, which actually dropped a few years ago. When I moved to Switzerland, between French and English people, they would call me like 20 different names.
Colaco.
Colacao. So I dropped the accent, and then I only had like 5 different names instead of 20. So
There we go. So Fernando is originally from Portugal and currently owns and operates a software development company in Beijing, China. He has a varied background, which also includes marketing and interactive art. Fernando is a self-taught software designer and developer who has worked in more than 24 countries. He's currently the CEO of Colaco Technology, which is a creative and tech agency in Beijing, founded in 2019. Along with his team, he serves many different industries, both in China and internationally. Hello, Fernando, and welcome to Evolve.
thank you for everything, and good evening here, good morning in there.
And good afternoon somewhere else.
Yes.
Okay, so Fernando, one thing that I love about you is that you are self-taught. And in today's world, that's not always valued, but I think there's a lot of value in that. And you've risen to the level of CEO in a company with international reach. So please tell us a bit about your self-development and your leadership path.
Okay, so actually the software development thing started when I was like 14. Because I was when I was in Portugal, I was very interested in how computers worked and trying to understand what coding was. And at the time, we didn't have internet, so you were dependent on going to the library, bringing like huge, really heavy books, and there was no copy paste. You really have to type what you had on the code was in like 20 or 100 pages, and then if you do a mistake, you need to figure out what you what you did wrong. So it was a good way to learn, actually. But at the time, I was like 14, so it was more like a hobby, but I got really deep into it. I didn't have a computer at the time. My parents couldn't afford one. Actually, until I had my first computer, one of those that you plug to the TV, uh, Sinclair Spectrum. It was in Europe, it was quite a big thing. In the US, it was the Timex. It was a similar system. But so before my father bought one of those in installments, I was basically borrowing time in some friends that maybe their parent had a computer. Schools didn't even have computers at the time. So I was basically having the ideas and then trying it in limited time in someone else's computer. And then after I get my first one, my mom was not really happy because I didn't go to sleep very early. uh, but so it started from there. Then eventually I bought my first second-hand PC. So I could actually start doing some jobs, actually, some small applications for stores like point of sale stuff and database related stuff. But that was still, I was still studying. And then actually you already mentioned that I'm self-taught, but that was mostly because at the time there was not the curriculum for especially for software development was not very developed itself by the time. And then I was really happy because high school started, some high schools, not in my town, but in a nearby city, They had a technological course, and I applied for it. I started, but then I was disappointed with the curriculum was really, really, really. So I was learning things that I was not using for more than 2 or 3 years. And then in my second year, I needed a job to pay for my apartment and for my stuff. So I actually was teaching in a private school, and half of my students were university students for software engineering, but the curriculum was still not what I wished it was. So I started thinking, okay, either I invest when I finish high school, either I invest 3 years in university, learning things that I'm not going to use, or I just open a company now. Uh, and it's easy to guess. I decided to start working as a freelancer, and I eventually opened a company, and then moved to Switzerland when I was 21. I was not freelancing there. I had to land a job first, so I actually started in a big advertising agency, Young and Rubicam, and at the time they were starting to do interactive stuff. I started as a freelancer, and when the project finished, the creative director called me to his uh, to his office. I said, "Okay, this is over. I need to find another job." And they actually asked me, "Okay, so if you need to start as a interactive art director, what computer do you need? What equipment do you need? How many people do you need?" So I was a little bit. I think I stopped for a minute, like not knowing how to react. Yeah, and that was my beginning of the overseas career. I stayed in there for 3 years, but it was very interesting. It was really good for my development. But I always had a little bit of both the creative and the technical side. And aside from the stress of an advertising agency, it was a bit insane. It was more pending to the creative side, and I was needing more tech stuff. So then I accepted a job from a finance fintech company, still in Switzerland, where I stayed another 3 years, and the same happened. Then I was missing the creative part, and I decided, okay, I'm going to start on my own. I'm already here for 6 years. I can start a freelance career. Yeah, and I did that for another 2 years. And then the crazy time started. I decided, okay, I don't need to be in Switzerland. My clients are all over the place. I'm moving all the time with conferences and tech events. What if I leave Switzerland? I'll just start traveling full time. So that's when my geek nomad season started, and it lasted 6 years. And across 24 longer time in total, it was like 21 countries. So I lived and worked from 21 countries, and I was switching country every 3, 4 months, more or less. And China was supposed to be 3 months, but after 2 months, I already knew I was not going to leave. I really got it's one of those things. You find your place. I like the pace of things in here. I like the speed things evolve, because that also opens more opportunities. And I'm really close to all the tech as soon as it is released, so I don't need to waste time waiting for. I need to test something. I just test it. So it's kind of paradise for any kind of computer geek of technology enthusiast like me. So I was working in a few companies and freelancing in between, but eventually I ended up opening this company, which is it's now it's quite solid. It's growing slowly because I'm really picky with the talent I hire, and I'm not following the typical startup path. It's more like a, how to say, I'm not a big fan of the scaling too fast. Uh, I'm very careful because later we can talk about that. But the way I hire people and the way equity works in my company, because basically, so basically everyone in my company has the same salary as me. So that's how I get them to really dedicate to the company. That also means that I can only invest in developed talent already, or people that learn really fast. So that's the two kinds of people that I usually hire. So I'm basically curating talent for the last almost 5 years. But it's working really well. I did a few risky things. because the normal strategy, especially for startups, it's hire cheap people, but then it doesn't work because you are paying 5 people to do the work of one. And I don't want investors or loans, so it needs to grow at its own pace. So we need to be really good at the projects. We need to keep the clients happy so they come back and bring more clients, basically. And so far it's working. And then I figured out by accident that these everyone on the same salary. And aside from that, every year we actually split the company profit equally between all employees. So they actually make an effort to be more efficient, to be good at what they do. I'm already careful to choose people that actually love what they do, because both in software development, so in software development, if you're just doing it for let's say for the money, you'll eventually get more bored and more tired and more frustrated in most cases. Uh, and that applies for me because I'm a software developer myself. So how to say, I need everyone to be efficient, and since I have another policy that is there's no overtime in my company. Well, aside from myself, I'm the one that does the sacrifice if needed. So the boss goes overtime if needed, but not the not the team. So they need to learn to be more efficient, and that's quite tricky, especially in China, because sometimes they come from a big company where overtime is kind of part of the company culture anyway. Uh, and I need to get them used. It's part of their first sometimes 2 or 3 months, getting used to becoming more efficient and doing more and doing better in less hours per day. Because one thing I learned by myself and in many years on these industries, sustained over time, it's not a very intelligent idea, because if people get more and more tired, their work will be useless after a while. So they will spend the day fixing the mistakes they did yesterday over and over. So that doesn't work very well. And for the creative side is the same, because my company has both sides. For the creative side is the same. You don't get inspired if you are exhausted every day. So that has been working very well.
Your your business structure is quite inspiring because some of the work that I do is based on human ecosystems. And
Mm-hmm.
you found a way to build trust and sustain it, because everyone's getting paid the same. Everybody, it's you're sharing everything, so that builds a different kind of interconnectivity among the members of your team, and it allows for trust to happen. I mean, of course, trust may or may not happen because of other kinds of contributing factors,
It
but
actually
certain.
has been working better than I imagined.
Yeah, I really love your I think
Because
it's
this was
quite inspiring.
quite of a crazy idea, a little bit of an experimental thing, and it worked so well that now it's permanent. There's only one contract for the company,
Mm.
and that's permanent now.
Uh,
It had a lot of side effects, but all of them were positive. So in the end, I don't really need piles of layered managers,
right.
because people become good at managing and being more responsible for their tasks.
Yes.
And aside from that, so imagine everyone is on the same level. If someone is slacking and getting lazier, everyone else will. I don't
Yeah.
even have work micromanaging anyone, or I don't need
Ah,
to be behind their shoulders.
yeah.
Uh, but that also has to have with the structure,
Right.
because I don't do. There's one thing that I learned, especially when I passed in through big companies.
Hmm.
Because usually there's the developers team, which is a big team, and then there's the creative team, so the design team, and it's usually a war between both. So the design team does something cool. Before they brief it to the tech team, they are already finding excuses to not do this or that, or to do that in a simpler way. In the last company where I was, that I cannot mention, but that was a daily thing. So we were wasting time with everyone trying to defer
Yeah.
stuff, and then when things come back from development, they have nothing to do with what the design team had in mind. So then a revision, and after 1,000 revisions, the product is not done. So what I do is both for our internal projects and for client projects. So we only are 12 people now, But between the designers and the developers, I assigned a mini team for each project or for each client, because some clients are in a retainer contract, which means they are happy. Some of them are with us for more than 3 years. So they are basically dedicated, and one of the people on that project is the project manager. So there's no dedicated project manager. So maybe the lead designer is the project manager, maybe the lead developer if the project is more technical than creative. And sometimes they change in the middle of the project. They decide between themselves because the project at the stage might be more the creative side. So we kind of morphed into these formats because aside from the salaries are the same and we share the profit. Whenever there's decisions that affect the workflow or even the team, I let everyone vote, and my vote counts as much as theirs. So I had friends overseas asking me, "Oh, that everyone earns the same and everything needs to be split." That's a Chinese thing. That's a communist thing, right? No, no company in China, or
They don't do
probably
that.
not in many places do that. So I said that, okay, so in terms of equity, we are communist. In terms of changes, we are democratic, because they vote on everything. Even when we hire someone on the decision, I like everyone's opinions. Uh, Even it only happened once. Even when we have to fire someone, I listen to everyone. I always give a second chance, but because it has to happen. It's part of managing a company. It's sad, but sometimes has to happen. But that's working very well. And again, it's easier for me because it's not just me making a decision and I might be wrong or I might be right.
Right.
Uh, it kind of goes in tune with the. It's a team, and it's a business. I need my team. They need me, but I need them also. It has the same weight basically. And so
Yeah.
far, it's been working very well. So I'm happy with the how things are going.
Yeah, the way you've done it, the power is equally distributed as well. And so they can make decisions on projects where, okay, you take the power, I'm going to step away and do something else, or I'll,
Exactly.
I think
Exactly. I don't need to
that's
be in the
amazing.
business all the time. I can be more worried in being on the business, and
Yeah,
I cannot detach myself completely. But it's also good for the responsibility part, because they also trust themselves more. Uh, some of them are more confident, but some of them, when they start, they are used to just being managed, and it
right.
takes a while for them to get used to make decisions instead of asking, should I do A or B, or should I go in this direction, or can I do this, can I do that? That's actually very good. And again, I don't need to micromanage anyone. Uh, so basically, once we get a project approved, all the parts of the project, I just let them take big chunks, so like the design chunks and the technical ones, and then they split that into digestible tasks, and they split them between each other. I don't even need to interfere in that. Uh, and them by themselves get better at time estimates, get better at common tasks. It works really well. I'm surprised that there's no more people doing my crazy management method. But it works. I have friends that also run companies. Like I would be so afraid to do something like that. But I was a little bit, I wouldn't say afraid, because I could change things if it didn't go as I
Right,
expected.
right.
But it worked well. After 1 year, I was already convinced, okay, this is going to be like this forever. Let's see when we are 30 or 50 or 100 if that still works. Maybe it's a little bit more complicated, but so far it's working really well. I don't regret that decision of starting like that, and it makes everything so simpler, even in paperwork and contracts and everything.
I'm not so sure everyone would want everyone to be paid the same as them in terms of business owners, but
Mm,
that's a whole other conversation.
yes.
I think with that we'll take a quick break And
Okay.
this is your host, Yvette Bethel, and we will be right back after this message. Organizational Soul is a mission driven organization and network where we specialize in trust in academia, families, and organizations. We are building a community of leaders who are interested in trust and culture. If you are interested in our updates, you can sign up for our newsletter at orgsoul.com. As a thank you for joining our community, you can access our free resources that are designed to help you build your brand as a trusted leader as you contribute to safe space. Sign up now at orgsoul.com. So, welcome back to Evolve. Our guest is business owner and software developer Fernando Colaço. Welcome back. And my next question is we're going to talk, well, it has to do with the digital age. So, from your perspective, what does it mean to be in the digital age? Like, what is that exactly?
Well, first of all, I love it because one of the reasons why I love my job is that you have to constantly evolve. Roll credits. Uh, we have to be constantly. You don't get bored of your job because technology moves fast, and I'm in China, so that actually has a different pace. And that's probably one of the things that kind of got me loving China so much is that things move at really fast pace in here, and you have to be constantly recycling and investing on your knowledge and your experience and learning new things. Both me and the entire team. These days, things get a little bit lost in buzzwords, and that's one of my kind of pet peeves because I see a lot of companies pitching AI and blockchain, and they are not doing anything related to it. But I suppose it's good to get investors or clients. I don't know. Because both of those are interesting and they are useful when applied on but that results in a huge mess, especially with clients. Because then you get clients coming for, oh, I want this website, and it's usually like a very basic brochure website, but it needs to use AI and blockchain and all the buzzwords they can remember because someone tried to sell them that. Uh, Now recently we've been seeing a race with the AI developing really fast, um, both for many things, and it has many uses, of course. Uh, it will have more people either investing in engineering related to AI and AI models and so on. It will be risky for the people that are kind of painting themselves on a corner and kind of trying to use AI to do their job, because those are the ones that might be at risk of having their job at risk. But then there's the ones that are using AI to complement their job. And that's the smart direction to go. We only have two projects, and I have two AI engineers. We only have two projects actually using custom models and so on. It's an interesting topic, but again, I just don't like to see people using the word AI and machine learning where it's completely out of context. In the last year, there's no conference, there's no pitch, company pitch that doesn't have AI on it, even if the company is not doing absolutely anything related to AI. Now, everything that is remotely just logic will be labeled AI. So clients need to be careful, investors need to be careful, because well, every year or two we have a new buzzword that it will be abused, like like now. So I think it's kind of a cycle. But again, related to technology, what I love in the technology side of my job, I already said, is it keeps moving, and you need to constantly evolve. And again, it's not boring because you because a few years ago, mobile apps appeared, mobile phones, smartphones appeared. So that was like a new thing. Uh, then all kinds of technologies pop up out of nowhere. Every year now we have a lot of projects related to VR and AR and all that stuff. And it's interesting because everyone gets excited here each time there's something that we need to learn. We get even more excited when there's a client. that wants to do something using that, even if it's something that we don't have like years of experience because the technology is new, uh, we actually let that really clear to the client when we're dealing with experimental stuff, because the timelines might be a little bit crazy. Uh, because I've seen companies saying, "Oh, we have 10 years experience in AI," but that's usually not very accurate, because the technology itself, it's not a new thing. AI, it's not a new thing, but the AI they are talking about, it's something that we're talking about for the last 2, 3 years. So again, it's something to be aware of. Uh, I just don't like to see when it's misused or the buzzwords are abused out of context.
Yeah, and I think it sounds like it's being done deliberately to mislead. So,
Is it? I've seen so many companies getting investors just because they threw the right buzzword in there, and then it has nothing to do with the scope of their company. But well, it works.
yeah. So from your perspective then, with the digital advancements happening, uh, what does leadership need to become in the future? Uh, one of the things sounds like they need to be developed and they need to learn what these
Use
buzzwords actually
technology,
mean.
but that's for example, the last 2 years, especially the last one, because during the COVID season, let's call it, during the COVID season, work was a little bit slower than usual. It was kind of 2 slow years. We were fine. We survived. The company survived, and actually with positive cash flow. But it was really painful because one good month, two so-so months, then 2 good months, 3 bad months. So it was a little bit of a roller coaster ride. But then from last year, things started moving at a completely different pace. We needed to almost double the team at the time because we were only seven, eight actually at the time, and then we have to, from eight we need to grow to 12 all of a sudden. But uh, most of the projects we've been doing now, it's digital transformation projects, and like big part of the custom software we develop for some companies, it's for the management levels. Uh, it's not just HR or CRM stuff. It's for especially in big teams to track KPIs, and I don't. Well, I could show you our dashboard because it's a little bit of that. Well, we are a software development company, so we do our own tools as we need and when we need. But I've cut like stand-up meetings and overdose of meetings that most tech companies have. So we did our own task management tool focused on the way we work. So in our own workflow, and we adapt it when needed. And then we just have this huge dashboard with everyone's tasks, the tasks they are working on, the last ones they finished, the next ones they are going to work, the tasks that you have dependencies on that someone else is doing, and the time estimated. So our schedule is filled automatically by the system. We can adjust. So it fills in the morning, it fills the 7 or 8 hours from the next list. And then we don't even need to bother with too much, both with project management, because I already said that people became good at managing themselves and their tasks and delegating when needed. And we don't need to spend much time on meetings. Our meetings are more just brainstorming meetings. So we have more creative meetings than technical meetings, because everyone is aware of what everyone else is doing. And since the teams are small, uh, and the teams are dedicated either to a client or to a project, rather than two teams juggling between 20 projects, and with limited time per day, and juggling between project A and B and C on the same day. We actually have the same team being focused on a project. Sometimes one person is added or comes from another project that just finished. So it's a little bit of tet Tetris schedule or Tetris calendar, but it works very well, and we are always ready. We always know when we can accept a new project, or if someone finishes a project earlier, we allocate them to our internal projects because we have some ideas for services later. Clients are always first, so the time for internal projects is shorter, but This year, I want to dedicate more for our own services because that's easier to scale. Client work is always selling time. Some large projects are more profitable, but in the end, it's the only way to scale is more people. While services and products, it's easier to scale. We have the ideas. We have some that we already started. Because our team, for example, there's people that only speak Chinese. There's people that speak Chinese and English, like me. There's people that only speak Portuguese and English. So our internal communication software, so the translation is always done on the server. So I receive all my messages in English, even from the Chinese members of the team. The people in Portugal receive the messages in Portuguese and they reply in Portuguese, and the Chinese people see it in Chinese, I see it in English, and so on. So it saves a little bit of time. So all our project specs use that also. So everyone sees stuff on their language. The original is always there in case the translation is messy because it's still machine translation. But usually it's enough. And if someone has a question, then the people that can speak two languages help on the if there's any misunderstanding. But usually it's not needed. So it's mm,
I love how you use technology to kind of really reduce the need for meetings so that you can work more.
those
You
are
mentioned,
time they can steal so much time for a day, and
yeah.
usually that's management fault. I've been in so many companies that you're dragged to meetings that you are there completely out of context. It has nothing to do with you.
Mhm.
And that doesn't include when the meetings are more about every department bragging about themselves. That has nothing productive for the work actually. And sometimes actually just start some rivalries between teams. And no, I basically opened the company because I got tired of some things that didn't work very well in the many places I worked and with some clients I worked before. So the idea was really apply all the things I learned all these years, and try to do something better. And I'm really happy how it's going so far. There's one or other things that don't work, but they can always be fixed. And it's not just me. I have my team helping me on sometimes in changing direction and ideas. It's the advantage of I actually let the tech team kind of participate on the creative meetings and the other way around. So we have internal workshops. I don't want my designers to start coding. Actually, we aside from me, there's another two people that are both designers and developers. That's very useful. But I like my designers. All of them understand coding. Some of them actually can play a little bit around with it. And I like that all my coders have constant, every Friday afternoon, we have kind of so the developers prepping a workshop for the designers or the other way around. So everyone kind of is able to speak the same language. Again, I don't need the designers to be able to code, but they know how it works. So they know the limits, they know the what might be a problem. And the other way around too. So they actually speak on the same like, oh, I need this in Photoshop, but please do the transparent layer with this or that. So they know what they are talking about. So I like my team to keep investing on themselves on learning. So that's very important because we're not robots. We're not supposed to just sit on our computers repeating the same tasks every day. That happens in big companies, especially in teams like 500 people. I've seen so many times someone that can actually do better, but management doesn't let them do better because their role is that.
That's right. That's right.
And that's useless. Again, that's good for companies with unlimited money because they are wasting money in there. They were wasting time, and they are making someone talented frustrated, which will eventually get out of there and work for someone else
That's right.
someday.
That's right. As a final question, if you were to leave, if you would want our audience to kind of remember one thing about this conversation, what would that be?
Trust your team, find people that you can trust, and that can be an asset to the company. Doesn't mean that you have to pay them the same salary as yours. uh, Give people the power of decision. Give people the listen to them. Again, people are not robots, and if you want your team really contribute to the success of your company, you need to trust them. They trust you. They need to trust you also. But again, a work relationship also involves trust. Uh, so that's one thing I learned many years ago. Sure, you need some level of authority and so on, but actually trust is more useful than just blind authority. Do this, do that. Because then, aside from the fact that they will be completely dependent on you, and even if you don't like to micromanage, you'll end up having to do it, because people will not feel confident to do things because they will be afraid that you'll be just nitpicking this or that, or at least they will have to ask you all the time, is this okay? Is this all right? Should I do it like this? So give people some freedom, because if they don't become good and efficient enough, then you pick the wrong person and maybe you need to find another one. Or they will need to improve themselves, and that's also good for you. They will make that effort for sure if they like the job or if they like what they do. So it's rather than the rigid uh, management and the authority structures, some freedom and some trust in between the layers. It's quite useful. I learned that before opening this company, but here I'm applying it in a completely different level. Uh, and I'm really happy with it. I got to a point that I don't need to police them because they police themselves. Not just in efficiency. It's impossible for someone to slack or get lazy here because everyone is uh, at the same level. So they kind of, but they don't do it in a policing way. I'm just joking with the word. They actually help each other to get everyone. It's fair for everyone this way. So it's kind of it's kind of I found it out by accident because that came out of the same salaries and split. Actually, the profits are not split equally. So we are 12. The profit is divided after we set aside money for hiring more people and new equipment, because we do a big meeting every company birthday about that. After we set a buffer and what needs to go to be used this year, then the yearly bonus is the split profit. But we add an extra bracket for charity every year, and everyone votes. Either we do an activity and we do it ourselves, like buying computers for a school in the countryside and paying a teacher to teach IT related stuff, coding for kids, or we vote in a charity that money goes to. But it's always divided by entire team plus one. The plus one is the charity part. So
Positive. Thank you. I think with that, I'd like to say thank you to Fernando for such an engaging interview. Your insights will certainly support our audience with building their leadership in a digital age. And before we sign off, Fernando, can you please tell our audience how they can contact you?
okay. So we have our website that is that just was recently revamped because we needed to update it with the crazy projects from this year. It was so fast. Not this year, last year. So we are at colaco.tech. So COLACO tech, TECH. And by the way, I'm doing a promo for your podcast subscribers. So it's the same, colaco.tech /evolve. So for any project signed off before the end of Q1, we're giving 20% discount on the project rate, 30% if it's for a developing country.
Wow. And for clarity, it's Q1 2024.
Yes. Yes. Until end of March.
That's right. Okay, so this has been Yvette Bethel and Fernando Colaço, and we'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us on Evolve, Reinventing Leadership, Building Freedom Cultures. Thank you for listening to Evolve, Reinventing Leadership, Building Freedom Cultures. Learn more about our proprietary trust, leadership, and culture courses and certifications at the IFB Academy.
You can check them out at organizationalsoul.learnworlds.com.